Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching live Late Night America. It is 1:05 a.m. on the eastern portion of the United States. So that would make it, I believe, like 11:05 Mountain and 10:05 Pacific, I believe. So, hello, everybody. Thank you for watching, no matter what platform you're on. We appreciate you being on there. And contact through email at americandufus at gmail.com. And if you'd like to help support the show, the best way to do it is Cashapp, $, American all one word. Or you can hop over into the chat on YouTube and do a super chat. We've got some things to talk about tonight. I'm running a little bit late. And I'm running a little bit late because I was in a conversation with some truck drivers. And I'll get to that in a minute. Again, thank you all for watching. Subscribe, like, share, hit the notification bell. All those things are important, and we appreciate you doing all those things. One of our OGs, somebody that's gone all the way back to the roots of the American Doofus channel and the old American Doofus show. Our friend Apollo. I'm not going to get into specifics. I'm just going to say, if you are a spiritual person, a praying person, a positive vibe person, whatever kind of person you are, send prayers, positive thoughts, good vibrations, all towards Apollo and his family, if you would. So back to the truckers and why I am running a few minutes late. I was in conversation with a group of truckers, and I've been asked before, and it just kind of come to mind. I'll tell you how this all happens. Basically, I go and find groups, and I tell them I'm an independent journalist. I'm trying to find truth to tell people. And most of the time, people talk to me. So that's how I get a lot of the information I get. Okay. I do have set sources of information. I have trusted friends that I get information from, but a lot of it is just basic journalism, basic reporting, old school. Anyway, I was talking to these truckers, and I was like, we know the supply chain is kind of, shaky. And we also know the future of trucking might be kind of shaky. So, tell me what to tell the people that come to the show that I give things to think about. Tell me what's going on. And I'm not going to rehash every single conversation or anything like that. I'm just going to give you kind of the gist of it. The truckers that work for established companies, company truckers, and those that are independent had very different views on the future of trucking, on the future of the impact, on the future of the impact that what is coming upon the trucking industry will have. Both sides agreed it's going to have a negative impact. I asked, they're talking about a trucker shortage right now, but yet it seems like with everything there could be, viewed as a move to try to eliminate the independent truckers. And it was like, it depends where you're at, what part of the country you're at. So I learned an awful lot. And one of the things I learned was from an old trucker who basically explained what's going on right now. Because I said, I had said that within 90 days there's going to be a major shortage of goods, and make sure you got what you need to have. And he said, um, well, you obviously weren't the only person saying that, and a lot of corporations were aware of what was happening in China, and what we talked about, all that with the container ships and the goods not coming out, and blah 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 blah. And he said, so they the the companies bought more. They bought as much as they could, and now they are kind of overstocked, and it's going to be a very temporary overstock, but it's kind of how the supply chain has worked in the past. But glitches are starting to form in the supply chain. So there seems to be an awful lot of stuff right now on most store shelves where I'm at. Okay. I did have an incident in Walmart I'll tell you about coming up. But what I was kind of led to believe is there are way too many products at the moment, and people, because of the economy, because of gas prices, because of fear, because of whatever, people aren't spending, people aren't buying like they were when the orders were placed, because they got to order. You can't just, hey, I need 160 cases of Oreo cookies. I mean, you order them in advance, and if you get all these cookies and suddenly nobody's buying them, you got an overstock. And he said the what he heard from he worked for um, one of the grocery companies, and what he heard in the stores that he dropped off to was that and he carried a lot of Oreo cookies. That's what was in the head. And he said the stores that he dropped off to, people were buying the cheaper store brands, and there are shortages in store brands. But as far as name brands, we're going to find overstocks, and there's going to have to be sales, and these sales are going to be limited, and that's why I'm talking about all this tonight, to take advantage of it, to help yourself prepare for what could be coming, because there are so many things that could be coming. Just natural disasters, supply chain disruptions, which we're currently talking about. New York City has a public service announcement out telling people what to do in case of a nuclear attack. Um, Russia has threatened within the past 2 days to blow up the entire East Coast with one of their Satan missiles, and that Satan missile is the translation of the name of the Russian word for the missile. Okay, Joe Biden, President of the United States, we're going to touch on him coming up here in a few minutes. He's been in Israel today. He was in Bethlehem, which is considered Palestinian, and nobody was happy about him going to Bethlehem because he didn't have an Israeli flag on it, and Israel considers it its territory, and he didn't take Israeli representatives with him, so Israel viewed it as a snub. The Palestinians viewed it, as he shouldn't have been there because the U.S. keeps allowing Israeli settlements in Pakistan land. So it was a no-win, no-win. And then he went to Saudi Arabia. So there are so many things that can potentially go really bad, really fast, that it's like insurance, to have a little preparation. It's for, peace of mind. And at the end of the episode, we're going to get on to something that that I want to talk about and kind of throw out to everybody as far as part of that preparation, part of that peace of mind. But let me get back to the truckers. So expect over the next 7 to 14 days to see big sales on things because they've got too much and they're trying to balance back out because the supply chain only works. It doesn't work if you get big backlogs. It doesn't work if you get overstocks because there come the gaps in the flow because everything's done by container ship, which we're going to show you in just a minute as well. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you, that the independent truckers have a much more bleak look for the future of trucking than the company truckers do right at the moment. And there it may end up with with two different sides in the trucking industry, two different sides in the trucking world. Have them split, just like everything is constantly trying to be split and divided up to keep us going at each other. And I'll say hi to Sissy. Hi, Sissy. Ohana. Hello to everybody watching again, no matter where you're at, and hop into the chat if you'd like. The first time seeing the program, it's education and information. So we just give you things to think about. Sometimes we have a lot of topics. Sometimes we don't have many. Tonight we a good amount. Okay, this is actually the cruise ship Celebrity Solstice that is now in Canadian waters and is leaving the port of Seattle. Here's the current traffic just around the port of Washington, okay, or the port of Seattle in Washington. And a lot of tankers coming in there, a lot of cargo ships coming in there. So at the moment, the flow is fairly good in the United States. It's not the case everywhere in the world. And when you have a global supply chain, what happens in the world really matters. One of our regular viewers happens to be on that cruise ship, and so that was kind of convenient to point out what was going on. And voyage, because you don't actually get to say bon voyage to somebody that's going on a voyage all the time. That's from the Big Bang Theory, by the way. So look for sales on items coming up, and then soon after that, there are going to be shortages, and there are going to be prices going through the roof, where on things that aren't that are available. Okay, it's just the way everything is set up at the moment, and just kind of trying to let you know ahead of time. I said I had an incident at Walmart. I didn't go through the self-checkout. I went through and made the person actually ring me up and everything. And she looked at my cart and she says, are you preparing? And I said, I just said, I like to stay stocked up. And she said, Good idea getting the paper towels and the toilet paper. I see you heard about the upcoming paper shortage. I just hope people aren't fighting over toilet paper again. And I just said, yeah, I heard about it. That's why I bought the extras here. I hadn't heard about it, but take it for what, it's something to think about. It is purely hearsay, but it came from a Walmart checkout person. And as I said in few videos back, I've had a lot of strange things happen to me that are kind of like, prods, if you will, or just, hey, keep, keep this in mind. Really, what you're talking about, things are moving the direction. You're on the right path. Keep talking about what you're talking about, and so you might want to grab an extra package or two of toilet paper and paper towels just in case the lady at Walmart knows what she's talking about. And thus I know what I'm talking about by giving you something to think about. All right. We're going to kind of take a step backwards and we're going to talk about some things that we've mentioned quite often. A little refresher, if you will. Propaganda that made the Nazi Party successful, from Joseph Goebbels, the Reich's Minister for Public Enlightenment in Nazi Germany. If you tell a big enough lie and keep repeating it, people will eventually leave it. Accuse the other side of that which you are guilty. Propaganda works best when those who are being manipulated are confident that they are acting on their own free will. And it is vitally important for the state to repress dissent, for the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus the greatest enemy of the state. Something to think about. Something we will probably come back to. And actually, before I get to the rest of the Twitter, since we are on this and it is important, I want to point something out that actually ties in this with hang on, let me get to the page. Again, thank you all for watching. Hit the subscribe, hit the like, hit the share, please. There it is. Okay, I've talked about this group before. It's called, the page is called, or the channel on YouTube is called Behind the Mirror. And the 1776 restoration movement, we've been talking about that quite a bit. Those are the patriots. That term gets used way too loosely, in my opinion, that have been occupying, in their words, in truth, they've been allowed to stay there because they're in violation of the law. But they are there exercising their constitutional rights to protest, to free speech. And there are a lot of channels that are live streaming. As you know, if you watch the program, we've shown you several of them, including WYSIWYG TV. Now, this is again called Behind the Mirror, and this is a page that has been going on for quite some time. Currently focused on 1776 restoration movement, but is about a much bigger scope. Okay, and they have been kind of pointing out to people, hey, don't just, don't just automatically assume that these are good people that are doing what they're doing, even though it may appear like, they yell freedom every 15 minutes, so they must be good patriotic Americans. And in fact, they've been found to have uh, people from the January 6th incident. They and they keep justifying having pedophiles in the group, and the group has kids there. And you can see the rest of it. Okay, well, um, one of their live streamers is Oreo. That's why the Oreo is here. And uh, lawnwatchers.com, as you can see down at the bottom. Uh, one of the clips we showed was from WYSIWYG TV, and it was Wizzy, the guy, the host, saying that comfortable seating is an important part of the protest, and a very important part of the protest. And I kept waiting for him to laugh or say, "Oh, I'm being sarcastic," but he wasn't. He's being very serious, and that's been what it's been. It's been them just sitting there, and the Oreo, the live streamer, and this Taco over here represents a guy named Taco Joe. They've just made a killing from people, saying, "Hey, you're not out here, so send us your money to show that you support us standing up for your freedoms." Um, one alleged um, one alleged was that Oreo had $9,000 in a similar to the Cashapp account that I have, $19,000 in it, and took it out and said he was going home, going to fly back to California, and needed $900 for an airplane ticket, and some woman sent him the money. And that's my problem with it is it's a grift, okay? And not all of them are doing it, but enough of them are doing it that it is incredibly evident. And another problem I have is this head on this sheep is X-ray, okay? And supposedly his name's John Dobbins. And he's been bragging about being a Marine and all of this and that. And they've checked him out, and it's stolen valor. And this guy is the guy that had his truck towed the other day, and we reported on that. You can go back on the episodes and check that out. And his truck was towed, and the first thing he did was leave the town and get into a different jurisdiction. He left the District of Columbia, initially went to Maryland, and then went to the site in Virginia, the Flight 93 site. And he's been kind of on the move, if you will. Now, you're probably thinking, well, so what? Big deal. Well, let me ask you this. If the first thing, if you get your vehicle towed, if the average person gets their vehicle towed, their first thought is not leave the state, leave the jurisdiction. Normally, first thought is, how do I get my vehicle back? Where do I have to go? How much is it going to cost me? Why was it towed? You don't generally take off. So, just something to think about, okay? And over here you can't hardly see it because they've got a Discord going on, and that's why I've got the volume down, because I don't want, they're talking, and that's what's coming out in the chat or coming out on the page, and a pretty active chat, and it's an open chat in that there's no censorship. There's and there are there are people going back and forth at each other on subjects at times, and it's how it should be most of the time. It's how it should be. People sharing their ideas with each other, getting people to think bigger than they have been thinking, because it's going to be one of our new mottos on here. Control your thoughts or somebody else will. And this back here, this has got the face of Santa. Santa is David Rydell. By the way, Oreo is Josh Fulton. And I'm not doxing anybody. This is not, breaking news or anything, or, special undercover report or anything like that. This has been going on for about 5 months. They've been at the Capitol since January the 6th. So just wanted to kind of show that, and I wanted to talk about, we mentioned the list of propaganda that Goebbels used, and one of them was blame your enemy for what you're doing. Well, this guy tries to live stream too, and we talked about WYSIWYG TV earlier. He's been actually doing it. He worked in Hollywood. He's got some chops, and he's as close to independent as they have with them. But he himself will admit he's biased. But anyway, as soon as this guy was in an altercation with a woman, and we showed that on here as well. He took a swipe at her, and she had a microphone and barely missed her face and hit the microphone, and then went to the police and said that she had assaulted him. And we did the triangle thing of create a problem, blame somebody else, play the victim, and how we see that a lot. He did it, and the police came back and arrested him. Now, there's questions whether they arrested him for filing a false police report or for assault. But anyway, he was only held for like an hour or two, and we pointed this out in another episode, that if all the protests we've watched, all the movements we've covered, something like that happens, the first thing that's thought of is agent provocateur. This is somebody that wasn't held by the police, but for an hour, and he came back, and as soon as he got out, he started talking about how they let him go because he didn't do anything wrong, which turns out to be a lie. Started talking about WYSIWYG being a mole. And if you are COINTELPRO, if you are agent provocateur, if you are a mole, an agent, a spy, whatever word you want to use, snitch, whatever it is, you blame your enemy for that which you are doing, just like Goebbels instructed. And I think that might have been something that got overlooked in all of that, was the way that this guy X-Ray went on the attack. So I'm talking about all this because he is, I think he's a potentially dangerous person, and he's gotten a little taste of fame, if you will, from the internet. It affects some people, and I think he might show back up, and he might show back up, and it might be in a bad way. So wanted to make sure that we showed you why we were doing the propaganda, why we started out with the piece reminding us of the levels of propaganda, the Goebbels letter, Joseph Goebbels letter, levels of propaganda If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. Accuse the other side of that which you are guilty. Propaganda works best when those who are being manipulated are confident that they are acting on their own free will. And again, I think that's a lot of what's going on in that 1776 movement with the constant grifting. I mean, it is a constant, it would be like if I was on here every night going, I want to go to Washington, D.C., and I want to cover the 1776 movement live on the ground. And I live 12 hours away. It's a 12-hour drive, but it's going to take me 4 days to drive it. And it's going to cost me $4,000 in gas. And then I got to stay in a nice hotel. So I need another $2,000. My viewers are too smart. My viewers will go, whoa, this is a hustle. Well, this is what's been going on in this movement for a while now. And the people I showed you at behind the mirror, they keep trying to draw attention to it that, don't keep, believe in the cause if you want to believe in the cause. And if it's propaganda, which it's propaganda, but that's for another episode. And this isn't coming. This is coming from, this isn't, oh, now you're a leftist. No, this is what other conservative far right wing people are telling me about these people, this particular group. That's all. All right. So we talked about, I mentioned earlier, Biden arrives in Saudi Arabia, and there's just been, there's been controversy from, he gives a fist bump to the guy instead of a handshake. Okay, now that's created a major fuss because this guy supposedly is behind the assassination of this journalist. And he's the prince, and Biden has to ask him for oil. And then Biden has to say he sternly reprimanded him for killing the journalist. Something to think about. You've heard the expression, throw the book at him. This is Guy Reftit, Texas 3%er, who was the first J6 defendant to go to trial. You remember we've had 3%er on here before talking with us. Should spend 15 years in prison is what the Department of Justice is arguing against the first guilty terrorism, first guilty defendant in the January 6th riot, insurrection, whatever you want to call it, overthrow of the government. January 6th. That we covered, of course, live. We were restreaming live, and most of our streams were taken down. Ivana Trump, former ex-wife, one of the ex-wives of Donald Trump, died as a result of an accident after suffering blunt force trauma injuries to her torso. New York City Medical Examiner says a lot of mafia people died of accidental blunt force injuries to their torsos back in the day. I'm not saying that that's what happened to her, but you have to raise a question of how come they came out yesterday. The Trump kids all came out yesterday and said it's just natural causes, nothing to see here. And then the medical examiner says, oh, well, the matter of fact, she looked like she got smacked around pretty good in the rib cage. And if you're 74, that may not be a good thing. We've touched base on this before, and it's worth looking back at one more time. We did a whole series on how QAnon is Russian artificial intelligence, and it's Russian propaganda. And again, let's look at these names: Peter Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein. We just give you things to think about, okay? And you decide what you want to do with the information. A couple more stories. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for watching. Let me hop back over. JB, yeah, this collective tribal consciousness. JB, anybody else in here in the chat? This is the first time we've done this on a Friday night. Hello, Thunder. The world of peace, very noble. What happens to my high school hat, man? That's a nice one. I've got some different hats. I used to have an incredible hat collection before I got divorced, but that's a totally different story and something I don't want to think about. Again, thank you all for watching. It's a new time on a Friday night. We're going to start doing this on Fridays and Saturdays. We're going to start doing Late Night America and just coming on and kind of talking about what's going on and answer your questions and comments in chat. And if I know who you are, let me know. Hey, I'm in the chat. I'd like to come on for a couple of minutes, and I got something I want to talk about. So, we're going to be doing these kind of things on late night on Friday and Saturday, so that we give the West Coast people a chance to come on live more often. And plus, it's a time slot that there's not a lot of live programs on. So a lot of people don't watch TV anymore, and they want to have something different to watch. So that's kind of what we're going to do here. We've talked some about this in the past, and about the magnetic poles flipping. And this, I'm just giving you a look here. See if I can get it bigger. I know. You'll notice the places where the lines are really, really close together. That's considered the weaker lines. Lines that are farther apart are stronger magnetic lines. And this is kind of a graph of how the geomagnetics of our Earth is working at the moment. This is where the South Pole is now, and we'll show you in just a minute where it was. This is where the North Pole is heading at the moment. And supposedly once it hits the weaker lines at 40-degree latitude, which is right here. So basically, once it hits that 40-degree line, the experiment says that it will immediately shoot to the south, and that the South Pole will shoot here to this part of Russia. That happens in March of next year. So we're not focused on that at the moment. But this is where there's an anomaly in Russia, an incredible strong magnetic response. And if you remember the episode about the super Russian weapons, magnetics and electromagnetics, and all that played a big part in what they were trying to develop. And have they developed it? And is that why the North Pole is being attracted in that direction as fast as it is. Something to think about. Over Canada, this used to be a massive, strong area because the North Pole was the magnetic North Pole was centered here, and it's kind of shrunk. This area right here, this is what's known as the uh, Atlantic anomaly, and in the video that we're looking at the still shot from, he talks about how his theory is that this is actually a magnetic hole, that that magnetism is gradually dissipating, and if that is the case, that could be a very, very bad sign. And his videos, some good news, some bad. And if that is indeed a magnetic hole, and it is growing, and subsequently other magnetic holes, such as in Canada and over here off the map, it could be very bad. So we're keeping an eye on it, because we'll have some, we'll have some warning, some time warning, months. So really, it's not a lot of time, but it is when you look at our world now and everything that's going on. So again, here's the South Pole, magnetic South Pole, and the North Pole is heading in this direction right here, and will cross the 40-degree line at some point, actually in March of 2013. Now let's go to just one more quick slide about the magnetic poles, and this is where they're at right now. And this is from Suspicious Observers. This has been the track of the North Pole. This is over Canada, and then it dipped to the south, and then it started a trek to the east. And again, eventually, if it stays on its current path, it'll end up right in the middle of that big circle in Canada, or in Russia. Again, something just to think about. Here was where the magnetic pole was in the south, and it didn't do the zigzags that the north magnetic pole did, but now it is right about there. And we're going to keep an eye on these things. Again, this will be something that you need to start preparing for now by looking to move somewhere. And it's way too deep for this episode. If you're interested, let me know and we'll do an episode on it. But it's kind of, if all this happens, then the chances are plates are going to shift, and okay. And that's not taking, and that's just setting aside the spiritual element of those of us who study the Bible know that all these things are supposed to happen. Anyway, hop back over here. What was being discussed, JB, is, and it's been a topic on here maybe once every 2 weeks or so, the magnetic poles of the Earth are transitioning at the moment, and it's rare for that to do it. There's an experiment that shows that at one point, when the North Pole gets to the 40-degree latitude mark, it immediately shifts very rapidly to the south and pushes the South Pole very rapidly to the north, which would probably destroy most of our electronics, most of our communications, most of our power sources, and be an incredibly major problem. And the mainstream media, governments, most of the NASA and USGA, the European Space Agency. They're government organizations, and governments aren't going to be talking about what we're talking about here because really there's nothing they can do about it. And so it's one of those things, it's just best not to let people know. I tend to think it's best to let people know and decide for themselves. That's freedom. Are there some things I've learned and don't tell you? Yeah, there are, but not very many, and nothing that would ever cost you your life. Okay. No, not 1 a.m. in California, 10 p.m. in California. I said it's 1 a.m. here on the eastern part of the country. I think it's 11 in Mountain Time and 10 on the West Coast. I think's what I said. Anyway, so one final thing I want to touch on here. Again, I'm going to kind of try to keep it under an hour tonight, and hopefully do Saturday night. We do a little bit longer. Handheld radios, okay? Ham radios. What is the range of a handheld ham radio? I'm not going to play this whole video or anything. I'm not going to play any of the video. I'm trying really hard not to get any potential copyrights or anything on this video. I'd like to see one of them get through just for analytic purposes. But I wanted to end with this, and at some point I will be, talking about this potentially. We need to have a network of people from one end of the country to the other that are independent to share news and information when the blackouts happen, when the power is out. If there is some kind of government lockdown, we need to be able to share information with each other. And I'd like to either put together or become part of and help expand a network of handheld ham radio users going across the country in all directions to try to, because if something happens, let's say something happens in, let's say Philadelphia, something happens in Philadelphia, everything goes down in Philadelphia, and you don't have a clue what caused it, what happens, you can reach out to the farthest person away that you can reach on a ham radio and say, hey, I'm in Philadelphia, I don't have power, I don't have yada yada yada, what is happening where you're at? And it'll give you an idea if it's something national or if it's something regional or if it's something local. And I just think it would be a good idea if there is not such a network that we create it. We work to create it, because it's getting to where everybody is everybody's at extreme levels. Not everybody, but everybody that gets attention at extreme, when they're on the fringes, when they're on the extreme levels. And there are so many more of us in the middle. And we need to have some kind of organization for us so that, first of all, everybody understands we're not out to destroy any other side. We're in the middle. We're not out to destroy, but there's enough of us here that you ought to recognize you don't want to mess with us. There's way more of us than there are anybody else in actuality, as long as we can keep some sanity and not let everything that's trying to divide us keep dividing us. If that, I mean, and this radio, this information thing, this isn't about right, left, middle, blue, red, conservative, liberal, Nazi, Antifa, whatever. Okay. This is about people that understand that, hey, there are too many things out there that could potentially create emergency situations, and having as much information in an emergency situation helps us not to panic. Okay, so something to think about, tossing it out here at the end. Again, thank you all for watching. Fat Son, thank you, man. Be proactive, not so reactive. Yeah. All right. I'll figure out some way to where we can, we can start trying to put something together, because the video that I had up there, I'd watched the first couple of minutes of it. You can get maybe 5 miles, with just the standard ham radio in an area that has some obstruction. If you get a better antenna, you can get a little farther. And, it would take a lot of us to get connected. But at the same time, there are some strong ham radio operators with massive antennas that reach a large distance. We can get some of them connected in with what we're trying to put together. We can get coverage. And I think we should be proactive and not reactive. And Fat Son, I want to thank you for joining. Thank you for commenting. Collective Tribal Consciousness. Thank you. JB, as always, thank you so much. Thunder, I know you were in here. And I'm running back up just to make sure I don't miss anybody before I say bye. Sissy, as always, the world of peace, very noble. Thank you. A great name. And I'm going to say hi to Fred, because I trust Fred will watch us on the replay. And I thank him, and I thank all of you that watch. And again, as we shut down here for the night, remember our friend Apollo. Okay, just send some positive thoughts, some prayers if you're a praying person, and good vibrations. Whatever your way of supporting, send it towards Apollo's way for his family. All right. Thank you all. I love you all. You know that to be true. Namaste. Shalom. Salam. Assalamu alaikum. Blessings in the name of Jesus, the Son of the one true Most High, who gifts us with the Holy Spirit, that we might be able to connect not only to him but with each other, even through something as crazy as the internet. And while I'm a Christian, I love you no matter what. And we need to have a lot more of that. And it needs to be real and not just talk. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. We'll be back tomorrow night. Same time, same doofus time, same doofus channel, the American Doofus channel. This has been called Something to Talk About. We'll be doing it again. Same time, 1 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 10 p.m. Mountain Time, or 11 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. in the Pacific. It's a dark world. Try to be a light. Control your mind.